as it was originally written. I mean, it's one of my favorite comics. I actually think Fantastic Four as a piece of IP is in theory as big as Spider-Man. You know, I think those the values of Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, I think those are the reason, if you're a kid, you can imagine being part of the Fantastic Four family, and you can imagine being Peter Parker. Right. So, yeah, I think Fan 4 would be the one that would excite me the most.
I'd be on board. And my last thing for you, you introduced Taron Egerton to the world. There are a lot of fans like myself who think Taron would make a great Wolverine if we do end up seeing another Wolverine. Would you get behind something like that?
God, yeah. Why not? I mean, listen, if I would ask for Mr. Jackman's permission and his blessing, because Hugh is the man, and if Hugh, if I ended up doing another X-Men and did Wolverine, I would want whoever I cast, I'd only do it if it had.
What is good, YouTube? Warstu here, back with another Marvel video. Now, it feels pretty odd talking about Marvel because I've been talking about Joker, I've been talking about Star Wars over the weekend, so we're back at it with another Marvel-based video. So, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and also check out warstu.com for exclusive access to interviews. So, there's a few topics to talk about that I really want to talk about. So, over the weekend, it was New York Comic Con 2019. Seemed to be pretty cool, looked pretty fire. We've also had the Russian Comic Con come through, and we've actually got some confirmation about who Taskmaster potentially is. So Matthew Vaughn wants to direct the Fantastic Four in the MCU. He was interviewed by Brandon Davies at comicbook.com. So this dates back to 2017, and essentially he said he is game to direct the Fantastic Four if he is asked, and he really appears to want to do it. Yep, I've always loved the idea of doing Fantastic Four job as it was originally written. I mean, it's one of the favorite comics. I actually think the Fantastic Four adds a nice piece of IP. In theory, it could be as big as Spider-Man. So this is something that's very interesting. Marvel have invested a lot of time and money into buying Deadpool, XMen, Fantastic Four, and the whole Fox IP property. So they spent just under $100 billion, although a lot of people are going to, it's 70, no, it was closer to $100 million. So in that is the Fantastic Four. They did actually announce the Fantastic Four and X-Men and also Deadpool being a mutant during San Diego Comic-Con. So we know it's 100% coming. So Matthew Vaughn wants to direct it, and I actually believe that Fantastic Four could be just as big, if not bigger, than Spider-Man. The one big advantage being that Disney Marvel owns the Fantastic Four, and there's not just one character, there is a whole squad of people you can bring in. Galactus, although I don't really think they should bring Galactus in straight away, but more importantly, Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom, they could bring him in. So I thought I'd tag that in. Now, it is interesting that he's thrown his name into the bag. So it is that they could secretly be talking to him. And he also did give his approval to who potentially could be the next Wolverine. Although he said he wouldn't cast him unless he had Hugh Jackman's approval, which is kind of interesting because it doesn't really matter what Hugh Jackman thinks from a creative point of view. I mean, it's cool if you want to get his personal opinion, but either way, if Disney Marvel wants to cast a new Wolverine, they will do anyway. So that is it for the Fantastic Four. And news, kind of. I mean, it's a bit interesting that he's answering questions at New York Comic Con, which is generally where we get big reveals. So maybe there is something behind the scenes. There are a lot of websites suggesting that he's going to be directing the Fantastic Four movie. But like I said, guys, there's no credible sources sourcing that. So over the last week, I think we may be in the first channel. I know someone else did it. I know Heavy Spoilers did it about the video about Spider-Man and essentially the MCU making one universe. The only reason I mention Heavy Spoilers is because that's where I got the story from, and he told me about it. So the story the other day about Tyrese Gibson telling his friend that essentially he has a role. Obviously in Morbius, he's playing an FBI agent who's trying to track down Morbius, essentially. He says he's got a role, 3 more roles in that, and one is the MCU. So there's this big conspiracy theory that the MCU is all connected to the Spideyverse, Sonyverse, and they can both cross over back and forth either way. And essentially Spider-Man 3 might kill off Spider-Man in one sense in that universe, but make a Spideyverse in a bigger sense. So there's that big theory. So what is interesting is, if I didn't get any copyright claims or anything, you would have seen a clip from Amy Pascal saying, essentially, we have them. We have all the characters for the Sinister Six. And this makes a lot of sense. Now, you got to understand that there was a video clip, there was a post-credit scene for the movie with the Sinister Six in it. But as Spider-Man is owned by Sony, if the new deal is only for Spider-Man 3, and also for one Avengers team up, it would make sense to introduce the Sinister Six properly. They've got all the IPs. And if this is the final movie in the MCU for Spider-Man 3, I believe Spider-Man 4 will be dedicated to just Sonyverse. Now, they've got Vulture, they've got Shocker, etc. So, Mysterio is going to return in the Sinister Six. He didn't die. I mean, a lot of people seem to think he's dead, but he is the master of mischief, the master of disguise. I mean, essentially the whole movie was about holograms. So you got to understand, you got to question is if when Mysterio would have time to record his backup message, when did he have time to do that? Did he do that prior? Did he think Spider-Man was going to beat him? No, he was coming across quite arrogant and quite vain during that whole movie. So after the ending scene, there was like 500 drones. It must have been the other drone that got away, portraying to be Mysterio. Now, I know what you're going to say. This sounds so deluded and far-fetched. Well, let's be honest, guys. It's not far-fetched for Warstu, is it? So I believe Mysterio isn't dead and he will play a part. It just literally was staged. The whole death was staged. I know Edith said it was real. But as Amy Pascal said in the video, if it didn't get a claim and I had to edit out, they have the whole Sinister Six, so they just need to introduce other characters. We do know that Sony is working on their own Sinister Six, so why not introduce it during this movie? Now, I know what you're going to say. Kevin Feige has full directive control. No, he doesn't really. He has a good proportion of directive control with Sony, and Amy Pascal is working on it alongside Venom 2 and in Spider-Verse 2. We know that she's now at Universal, but obviously she's still working on this. So as we know from what Kevin Feige said, there's no real reason for the Avengers to team up in this movie. So I don't believe we're going to have any other MCU characters appear in this movie outside of maybe Happy Hogan, because we don't really need it. This movie is about Kraven the Hunter with a Sinister Six hunting down Spider-Man. And that is essentially what's going to happen in the final Spider-Man movie inside the MCU. Now, it will be very interesting to see how this plays out. And guys, I really want to address something. I've addressed it on my Twitter, and a lot of people will not publicly say this, but everyone knows it's true. So Tom Holland, an actor, you know, he called up the head of Disney, the head of $1 billion. I don't really know how much Disney's worth, but I presume it's worth like at least $1 billion. So you're telling me that he called up the head of Disney and was like, yo, Disney, can you just call up Sony and sort it out? Can you call up Tony? Can you sort up the head of Sony? So you guys really want me to believe, I don't really care, that it comes from Variety. You want me to believe that 21-year-old phoned up Bob Iger, one of the most powerful people the most powerful person in Hollywood. And he's like, yeah, so what's going to happen is Spider-Man 3 is going to be in the MCU and I'm going to have one more appearance with the Avengers. And if you don't like that, I'm not going to be in it. And then essentially he said, yo, Sony, Spider-Man 3 is going to be in the MCU and you're going to let me be in the next Avengers movie or else I'm out. And they both said, okay, sure. Now, I do not believe the story they're saying that Tom Holland pleaded with Sony and Disney. I guess he had conversations, but I don't really believe that an actor has that much pull power over what happens. This is called Public Relations 101 with your boy Warstu. So essentially what the real story is of what happened is Sony had some things leaked, Disney had something leaked. Now loads of websites are making out that 50% was fake. It got pushed out by someone. So either way, they didn't want Sony to look bad. They didn't want Disney to look bad. So how can they get out of a bad situation? They send Tom Holland in and just have Variety, I think Variety were the company that essentially posted the article, to say that, yeah, Tom Holland was the reason the deal came through last minute and the deal was dead. I believe the deal was dead. There's lots of websites saying that every single thing was lying. They were talking for 3 months behind the scenes before anything happened. And then recently they did the stellar thing. They did the stellar thing to get the head of Disney to come out and say, fan power is sometimes more important than anything else. So I don't really believe that this all came to fruition because Tom Holland was like, yo, I'm not losing my ticket, back like he said during the Homecoming press junket. I'm not losing my ticket. So realistically, what happened was They both wanted to work with each other. They came to a new deal, and Tom Holland was a scapegoat, because who's going to question that? Your boy Warstu's going to question that. So what is interesting is obviously Bob Iger comes out and says, Disney, Sony, Spider-Man feud ends. Kevin Feige to produce sequel. This certainly warms my heart. Thank you, Sony. So essentially, it was a PR stunt, and it was a PR case, what they had to close, and they couldn't blame either company because they didn't want to discredit either company, because businesses don't normally go after other businesses. So essentially, I believe Spider-Man 3 will have no Avengers in it. It doesn't really need to. It's going to stand on its own 2-3. We do not need Iron Man in the MCU any longer. We need to get out of this shadow of Iron Man. Now, I've seen a lot of videos and a lot of content on the internet saying, can the MCU survive without Iron Man? Yeah, it can, because Iron Man wasn't in every single MCU movie, was it? No. So that is what's going to happen. I believe the Sinister Six is going to be in Spider-Man 3, and I believe Sony will be taking more control than you actually think. I think there will be kind of, you can use our character, and I'll let you use my character. So it seems the Fantastic Four will be coming. Now, there's also loads of other variations of leaks and stuff. A lot of reports are coming out that Phase 5 is going to be a hectic schedule, with Black Panther 2 obviously being slated for 2022. Blade apparently is coming out in 2022. I mean, that would make sense because they've already got the actor Mahershala Ali, who was Cottonmouth in Luke Cage. So that would make sense. Then Fantastic Four, then X-Men. I mean, I'm still trying to get the cameo role in the X-Men movie. So guys, let me know. That is how I think Spider-Man 3 is going to go down. I am not going to believe that Tom Holland has so much power over what happened. I'm just not going to believe it. So I do get a bit vocal. I don't just report generic news here. I always give my constructive criticism to the stories that are coming out, because stories aren't always as they seem. We're never realistically going to know what really happened between Sony and Disney, but it is interesting that I believe the Sinister Six will be coming through with Spider-Man 3. Now, we do have lots of movies coming out in 2021. Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2. It's probably going to see Nightmare. Nightmare's probably going to be in there. Joaquin Phoenix's name's been pushed out there. Matt Smith, Keanu Reeves. As we've said from day one, Keanu Reeves is most likely going to play in a villainous role. Like I said the other day, I do believe he will be playing a part in the Eternals movie. Maybe because Richard Manning did actually say that the full cast is not being revealed yet. And some people are like, Warstu, you're wrong because it's playing the villain. No, they've not revealed the full cast yet. So I will be doing a Phase 5 video very soon. So like always, guys, please like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what other content you want down below. And Mr. Robot Season 4 has started. That is so fire. If you guys are a original subscriber, original supporter of this little channel, you would know that I covered Mr. Robot, and it was one of the first TV shows I covered after the Arrowverse. So if you guys are watching it, I might cover it, maybe. I'm not sure yet. So like always, guys, let me know everything down below, and I will get you in another video very soon. Catch ya later on today. Peace.